Slept on Cinema is sponsored by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know someone who's struggling with shoe tying for any reason, Training Ties is the perfect solution.
Both Van Damme and Lundgren are about as interesting as soup cans.
The way some people habitually smoke after sex, they pun after killing people.
Lundgren may well be the only man in the universe who can make Van Damme look like an actor.
Universal Soldier may flex its muscles at every opportunity, but it's still second-rate Schwarzenegger.
It's universally stupid.
Leaves behind almost as many derisive laughs as dead bodies.
A lame Terminator wannabe. Welcome to this week's episode of Slept on Cinema. I'm your host, Stan Steamer.
And I'm Grove Street.
This week we are getting into the 1992 action classic, Universal Soldier. Once again, this movie kicks ass.
Yeah, I think we got here because of sudden death, and we wanted another taste of Jean-Claude, and I'm glad we did.
That's right. Yeah, it's our third Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and they're all fantastic. This one, I couldn't put any one of them ahead of the others because they're all fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of Jean-Claude's kind of like the perfect guy for us because perfect actor because none of his movies seem to be rated that well, but they're all so much fun to watch.
As always, the movies we review on our podcast are all going to be at or below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes for both critics and audiences. And we structure the podcast so that the first half is spoiler-free, talk about some things to look for in the film, take a break, go watch the film, and come back and talk about some of the things that we just saw.
Rotten premise. During the Vietnam War, soldier Luc Deveraux finds that his superior officer, Andrew Scott, has turned violently deranged, and the two fight to the death. After their bodies are retrieved, they are placed into a secret program in which they are reanimated and trained to become unquestioning killing machines. While Devereaux and Scott initially have no memory of their former lives, glimpses of their past start to return, rekindling their intense conflict. Critics, 34%. Audience, 46%. We've had a lot worse rated movies, and I kind of get why for us, this is actually kind of a decently rated Van Damme movie.
Oh, yeah. Again, I'm always shocked. This thing should be audience 98 and then 2% for people who just don't like fun movies. But glad that it isn't because we get to talk about it.
Yeah, and I'm starting to get to the point where like certain actors that we cover, like if you're talking about Jean-Claude or Stallone or Arnold, and like 92, Jean-Claude is in his career at this point. We know what we're getting. We certainly know who Dolph is if it's just from Rocky IV. If you go into this expecting something different, like I don't even know why you're here. You can't go in expecting the pianist when you're watching this Beautiful Mind. This is two action icons going at it, and their skills are super elevated. Their strength, their smarts, all elevated. I don't know what there is that you wouldn't like about this movie if you knew what you were going into going in.
Yeah, that's totally right. I mean, this is exactly as advertised. Like this just, if you know what you're getting, and they give it to you, and it's great. Which again makes me not understand the audience reviews. Just it's mind-boggling. It's like going to a Mexican restaurant, and it's a great Mexican restaurant. You walk in, you're like, man, that place was terrible, and it's just because you don't like Mexican food.
Right?
It's like, well, no, the food was good. You just don't like it.
No lasagna, no burgers,
yeah,
no foie gras. Terrible. The wine was terrible. I guess margaritas were okay. Yeah. Completely confounding, but we'll get to the good stuff here.
Yeah. A little bit of background, and some of this that I will get to blew my mind. So brace yourselves. Make sure you're sitting down for this. The movie comes out July 10th, 1992. Open number 2. Number 1 was Sister Act, week 2.
What are you going to do?
What a time to be alive. $10 million its opening weekend, ended up taking in $95 million worldwide in 1992. Whoa. So once again, this movie crushed. I mean, it was just an awesome movie, and a lot of people went to go see it.
$95 million on a budget of $23 million. That is a blockbuster.
Yeah, hell yeah. So well done all around. And I know we talked about this being our third Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, so I'm not going to get into him. This is our second Dolph Lundgren movie, if you recall, from Johnny Mnemonic He had the
Oh wow, I completely
Reacher.
forgot.
Yeah. So we didn't touch on him too much there. It was kind of more of a later career role, and obviously a much smaller role. But I looked a little bit into the background of Lundgren,
It's
and I
impressive.
didn't know any of this before I looked into this, and it blew my mind.
Yeah, this is definitely this is the sit down stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, this is
I
definitely.
couldn't
I love
believe this. So he grew up, and I guess he had a lot of allergies as a child, so he couldn't really do sports. But he got really into martial arts and just his studies. He was a really, really good student, and he went through school in Sweden and was just crushing it, and ended up studying engineering. And he's studying all over the world. He ends up with a Fulbright scholarship to attend MIT to further his studies in chemical engineering. So he's about to be a chemical engineer. And before that, he's in Australia studying there. And he gets a job doing security for performances. And he ends up doing security for Grace Jones. And somehow they hit it off and become a couple for a number of years. She takes him to New York. They're hanging out doing the famous people scene, and he's just basically a student at that point, or about to be a student. He decides he rides up from New York to Boston on a motorcycle with Grace Jones on the back of the bike, shows up at MIT, and within a couple weeks decides that this is just, he's had a taste of the limelight, and he decides to drop chemical engineering and go into the show business game. And the rest is kind of history. He through some of his connections sends in a tape and gets into Rocky IV, and then he's just a sensation, pretty much an overnight sensation. So that obviously takes off, and then he's just an absolute action icon for the rest of his career, which is crazy. I mean, that blew my mind that he was literally about to be a chemical engineer on a scholarship at MIT, and decides to just change things up.
It's so against type of who he usually plays, especially like going back to his original role of like basically the silent Russian.
Right.
Like he's so much smarter than he ever comes off in most of his roles because he's so such an imposing figure where he's just cast in this like muscle-bound role where he has to be like the evil villain, but he's also the perfect villain if he was unleashed, where he's like got the brains and the brawn.
Oh yeah.
He's got the fame by dating Grace Jones. Like he's he does everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty safe to say he was probably the smartest person on every single movie he ever worked.
Which you never would have known. They never give him any it's rare that they give him any like really smart dialogue.
It's bizarre. I mean, I guess because he's just an enormous like physical specimen. They were like, nope, you're the lunky guy.
The audience won't believe that you can have both. That you can be that strong and that smart.
Yep,
just believe it.
So that blew me away. But I thought that was just an awesome story.
Yeah, I love that. That's so great. Do you want to get into the bolos?
Let's do it. This is another one of these movies. Maybe it was just this era or this style of film, but a lot of things to look for.
All right, nice. Let's hear them.
I'm going to start off with one of my favorites, which is just when it's Bolo, when it's raining and there's still a lot of fire. I just love that combo.
It's definitely like an action set from the 90s when you see that. Tons of rain, but also a good amount of fire at the same time. Bolo ears.
Took it right off my page. Number 2 on there. Bolo ears. Absolutely. I'm going to go with Bolo, some novice smokers.
Yeah, you're big on the being able to catch people as novice smokers, so I'm sure you're going to one up with this movie.
And I feel like some people rip on that in films. I feel like I like to think that maybe these people in the film just picked up smoking. That makes sense. Why not?
Perfect sense. Especially in the 90s, like what's the problem? What's the harm in the 90s of just picking up smoking for a little bit? Nobody thinks
exactly. Everyone was doing it.
I like watching these movies, like not researching who's in it. So when sometimes people show up, that's why I name them. So my next Bolo is that big dude from the Gladiator movie and Beer Fest.
Oh, nice one. Yeah.
Who also was also a Mr. Universe.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't go completely into his backstory, but there's a lot there.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, another episode.
Yep.
I'll follow that up with Bolo Jerry Orbach, the Law and Order guy.
Oh, the Law and Order. Yeah, that was a very big surprise. Big reveal. Bolo Debo.
Nice. I will go Bolo Steam. This movie is the steamiest movie we've had yet.
So much steam. Comes from many different things, too.
Yep.
Machines, it could be the environment, it could be someone upset.
This was probably the golden age of steam in movies. Like, I feel like back in the early 90s, they really knew how to throw steam around.
Yeah, steam went along well with the pyrotechnics of In the Rain. Just you can have steam, fire, and rain all at the same time. Bolo sneakers.
In particular, Bolo Reeboks.
Ooh. Does that make it? Did you one up me? Is it yours still, or?
Sure, I'll take another one.
Yeah.
Bolo Sweat.
It's a lot of sweat. Bolo Ice.
And really Bolo the Ice Machine. Keep your eyes out if you can see one, because it's surprising that there might not be one.
Bolo Headshots.
Oh, yeah. Because we just had some really, really crisp headshots, and we're right back there.
Right back there, yep. Everyone's accurate in the early 90s.
I want to say Bolo some Jean-Claude Van Damme butt. It's tough to miss.
Some of the most gratuitous butt that there has ever been in a movie.
Yes, and it seems like most of his movies, if given the opportunity, he will show some butt.
He'll show some butt, but he just is out there with his butt in this one.
Yeah.
So just get ready. Bolo, I guess this goes along with Steam, but actually Bolo hearing puns.
Some great ones. Go with another sound, but Bolo, the fax machine sound.
Bolo employee privileges.
Nice. Let's say Bolo popcorn.
Very almost like Michael Jackson-y gif when you see the popcorn.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Bolo hiding under the covers.
And Bolo a waterbed.
Bolo a billiards trick shot.
Mm-hmm. And Bolo a concrete wall.
Bolo terrible driving.
A lot of it.
A lot of bad driving.
And at the same time, Bolo the Woody wagon. Classic American car.
Yep. Bolo, I hate this. Maybe because of how I grew up, but I hate angrily putting down plates. Bolo angrily putting. I'm not a big fan. There's a lot of it in this. One scene in particular.
I'll go Bolo some giant syringes. It's a great syringe movie.
Yep. Bolo a rare steak.
Yes. Bolo, and this is kind of a subtle one, but Bolo some pamphlets.
I think this is my last one. Bolo looking for something hard.
And finding it. I will go, just because I love this, but Bolo neon. There's a fair amount of neon in some of these scenes, and some just fantastic neon signs.
Great signs.
All right, drink to pair with the movie. What do you got?
I struggled with this one. To me, this feels like a movie that I would put on, like after I get home from work on a Thursday, Friday. I guess like most of our movies, and you just want to like relax, turn your brain off, and just enjoy a good action flick. So I just had whatever beers you have in the fridge. Like if you just have a couple beers, you want to sit down and just watch a movie, this is it. So you don't have, for me, it wasn't an overthink movie because I think that goes along with this movie. It's not an overthink movie. You just get comfortable, sit back, relax, turn your brain off and have a couple beers that you'd like to have at your house.
I like that a lot. Don't overthink it. Just grab a beer from your fridge, sit down and enjoy. Like that a lot. And that could fit perfectly with what I have here. So I have grab yourself a Budweiser and a tall glass of ice and drink your beer over the ice. So it is ice cold. My brother-in-law, that's one of his classic moves. He's always drinking beer on ice. He likes it super cold, and I think you should do that here. And the additional wrinkle that really brings this over the top is Budweiser, classic American beer, or so you think, actually Belgian at this point now.
Oh.
Just like our main man, Jean-Claude here. So it fits with the movie. It's a little cerebral, and it's not. So there you go. Enjoy.
Yeah, I like the idea of being able to drink Budweiser while considering myself cerebral. So if you want to be able to do that, perfect. All right, this is your chance. Go grab your Buds and your whatever beer you have in the fridge and enjoy. This is a blast. We'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, enjoy.
It was a top-secret government project designed to create the perfect soldier.
No man would ever again have to die in the service of his country.
Cryogenically preserved.
Okay, guys. Memory clearance.
Genetically enhanced. Programmed to obey.
Who are these guys?
But there was something they didn't count on.
At the end of the mission, he became completely unresponsive.
Inside the machine is a man.
Do you really think the Pentagon would allow the regeneration of dead soldiers?
And all it takes
Veronica Roberts, TNA,
is one memory.
You didn't do anything!
To awaken him. Universal Soldier.
what the hell did they do to you?
Don't know. But I'm going to find out.
One can't be controlled.
Buckle up.
The other cannot be stopped.
This mission has been canceled.
I'm giving the orders from now on.
The ultimate weapons of the future have declared war on each other. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren. Universal Soldier.
Stop. That is an order.
Slept On Cinema is brought to you by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know anyone who's struggling with shoe tying, Training Ties is the perfect solution. Or if you know anyone who just doesn't like tying their shoes, Training Ties keeps shoes tied all day long. Say no to Velcro and yes to independence with Training Ties.
Welcome back.
Tons of fun. It feels good to be in our wheelhouse. And
It does. It always feels like we're right at home in movies like this. And as I'm sure it feels the same way for most of our listeners.
Do we want to get right to the draft?
I think let's just dive right in. I mean,
I agree.
This is one of these that there were a lot of things to choose from here just because the movie was a lot of fun. It's like I liked everything about it.
You could pick almost anything. I'm like, yeah, that's a great pick.
Yep.
So, perfect. So here you go. Pick anything.
I'm taking for my first pick, and maybe this is a reach, but I just have to have it. I'm taking the mobile command vehicle.
Oh,
that thing
that's so good.
Is so good. It's impossibly spacious inside, which is just amazing. I mean, there are, I don't know, is there a second floor in there? There might be.
It's somehow like, clown cars is usually a small car, but there's so much room because there's so many people in there. This is like a clown garbage truck where there's like levels and floors to it.
Oh yeah. And inside is great. You got all the tanks, the computers, you got all sorts of stuff in there. It's menacing looking. The outside looks so cool with all its armor, tons of steam. Like whenever it rolls up anywhere, it's just firing steam basically off the entire vehicle. It's the coolest vehicle I've seen maybe in any movie ever. It's amazing.
I think it's the coolest vehicle that we've had on our podcast so far.
I think it has to be.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless maybe, do you count like a dragon a vehicle?
Yes. So maybe not the coolest. Maybe the coolest non-living vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems right. So had to have it. Maybe it's a reach, but that thing was just awesome.
That's a great pick. I'm just having a last second change here from picking something that wasn't on my list at all. And I just audibled, and now I'm going to take number one from me, and it's Roland Emmerich.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the director. He's just one of our guys. He's a guy who knows how to make money and have fun. Pumping out his movies, and let me just list a couple here.
Yeah, his list is amazing.
I'm probably going to leave some off here, but we'll start with this, and then in Stargate, Independence Day, Godzilla 1998, which you say what you want about Godzilla 1998, but I enjoyed it because it has Godzilla in it.
I liked it too. I saw it in theaters. It was awesome.
Yep, it was good. The Patriot, which is a forgotten movie, which is basically just Braveheart 2 in America. 10,000 BC, 2012, White House Down, Independence Day Resurgence, the new one. Like, it is midway. It is just non-stop for this guy. He knows how to make movies that we like. And this is one of his, not even one of his earliest movies. There's a few before that, but you saw you're going to get when he did this one in the future. So I'm going to just pick him because he gives us what we want.
That's a great pick. I mean, that's absolutely right. This guy, if you're going to a movie that he did, you know what you're getting, you know you're going to be entertained, and you know you're going to want to watch that probably over and over again because he just does it right. He doesn't overcomplicate things. He just gives us what we want.
And now I'm onto my list. And I've got to go with the scene. I think it was I'll go with the first time it happened, but Dolph and JCVD, Jean-Claude Van Damme, killing each other in the beginning of the movie. Before the credits even finish, the two like main guys in the movie have already had their like moment where, okay, I know this guy's the bad guy. He's going crazy. We're going to fight. We kill each other. And then the movie starts. The movie starts, the real movie starts and the credits show up and they put the actor's name after each one of their body bags are tied up. And it goes like, oh, Jean-Claude Van Damme, his body bag's closed. Jean-Claude's in the movie. And then Dolph Lundgren's closed. Dolph Lundgren's in the movie. And it's like, what of the movie do they show the main characters die before the credits even finish?
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's like what I feel like the brilliant part is you get the crazy intense face-off twice. You don't just get it in one. It's not just like a flashback. It's not like Carlito's Way, the De Palma movie with Al Pacino, where in that you see they sort of show you the end of the movie in the opening scenes. You see Al Pacino getting killed, and then you see the whole movie that leads to that. That's not this. This takes it another level of you get a face-off that's totally unique, and then you get another movie that leads up to another face-off with the same two action stars. It's absolutely brilliant.
And part of the movie is just remembering that they had a face-off to begin with.
Yeah.
That in the first face-off, which is like a bayonet to the chest, and then he pulls out his gun. They're both badasses, so obviously one can't actually just kill each other, so they kill both of each other. It's just so great. Great way
the double, both of them shooting each other at the same time is
I didn't see this brilliant. In the theater because I was, I think, a little too young, but I can't imagine the joy I probably would have felt if I knew I was going to see Dolph and Van Damme, and within the first 10 minutes of the movie, I've seen them kill each other and they're both dead. Like, the rest of the movie's gravy. How's funny?
Totally. That's a great pick. I had that. That was probably one of my next pick. That whole opening scene, just everything about it was done perfectly. As we mentioned in the first half, the rain, the fire, the whole ambiance of the whole scene was just it was expertly crafted. There's nothing else you can say.
That should have been like a fake ride at Universal Studios where you go through like a village somewhere and it's just like raining, but there's, you know, when you see the old Jaws at Universal Studios, the flames would come up. Like this would easily be like, oh, this is Anytown Village or whatever. You know, there's going to be a fire and rain, and there's going to be steam, and who knows what movie we can shoot here.
Yeah, I'd do it. I'm going to take for my second pick. I guess I don't really know how to describe this other than sort of the road trip stopping locations, like the spots they stop that then they have these little scenes at. I thought were absolutely fantastic. So, I mean, you know that I love gas station scenes. So obviously they have a gas station scene. It's awesome. But then they top it off. You also get this fantastic motel scene. And then you also get the diner scene. The sort of three all-time classic sort of road trip stop locations: motel, diner, gas station. Everyone stops at all those things. They're familiar. You know them. But they just have these little sort of vignettes that play out at each scene. And they're all full of action. They're all funny. They could all be these little short stories at these different locations that are all very familiar and relatable, but obviously with kind of extreme things going on. And I just love whoever picked out those spots was just brilliant.
I didn't even put that together. You're right. Those are great, just like traveling spots. That motel scene was just incredible too. I really enjoyed that. Obviously, I mean, they all were.
Do you think this is a road trip movie?
Where did they actually start and finish?
They start in the desert and finish at a farm.
Yeah, it's like what they went from was it like Nevada to Utah?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. It probably it tells us because it does, I guess, across the bottom of the screen. They're definitely in Utah at some point.
And they start off in Nevada.
Yeah,
they're at the dam.
Yep.
But I think that's it. I mean, it's still pretty good drive.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a, what'd you call it?
A road trip movie.
It's a road trip movie.
It could be. I was throwing it out there. I mean, they stop at a lot of places. They're sort of on the run.
I think anytime you have to stop at a motel, you're in a road trip movie.
Yeah. I think that's a very fair bright line rule right there.
It's a good one. Good pick.
My third pick, I love when this is in any movie also, but I'm going with the rapid healing. I just love anytime you see on screen somebody healing rapidly. I think that's, if I ever make a movie, I'm 100% going to have that in it. Obviously, the sort of goat of rapid healing is Indiana Jones, the third. That I think that's the goat. You have a different rapid healing? My
rapid healing is Terminator 2 or Terminator series. That's mine, but okay. But your mind, I understand. Your mind goes to Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I always go to Indiana Jones first for everything. So if there's anything in an Indiana Jones, that's always going to be the number one in my book.
Can you explain this? I don't know the scene in Indiana Jones.
So it's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and they have finally found the cup of Christ, and it has all these magical healing properties and whatnot. It keeps you young and all this stuff. And Sean Connery had gotten shot in the stomach, and Harrison Ford takes this special cup and gets holy water, and he's shot, bleeding out, just pours it on his stomach, and it just heals right up, and he's totally fine again.
Yeah,
amazing.
I think that's the allure of the Wolverine character too in the movies. Like,
oh yeah,
it's so great. You just see someone destroyed, and they just like the body spits out the bullets, and they heal. And there's something just innately cool about that.
Absolutely, it's like I see it, and that's all it is. You're right. It's innately cool. There's no other way to describe it than just it's awesome to see on screen.
That's a good one. This was such a good healing scene too. All right, it's on me.
Yep.
My third pick. I'm going to go to, this is like a requirement. This is maybe partly too why people thought this was a Terminator 2 ripoff, because they had the scene too where he went into the diner or the bar and beat the crap out of every single goon that was in there. But it was like this diner, guys playing pool and an old man eating dinner. Yet there's still like 7 6'2" jack dudes in there just like drinking beer, ready to fight and playing pool. And they all come over one-on-one with him multiple times. There's a scene where she's on the phone at the diner, and you're like, oh, God, with this angle, I know someone's coming through that glass. Someone's coming through that glass. And you're like, oh, here it is. Someone had to come through the glass. But the whole time, he's just like, it was the first time he ate, I guess, since he was
They don't really explain it, but he was very hungry.
He was very hungry, and he just wanted to eat. He wouldn't give any feedback, and starts with kicking the chef's ass, who I'm not even sure was in the wrong.
The chef was a strange move, too, because he's like, I don't want to hurt you, and the chef starts laughing as if it's a joke. Jean-Claude Van Damme looks like he's totally jacked, and he looks like he's very powerful and deadly. Like I would not be laughing about that. I would be like, yes, I don't want you to hurt me either. Yeah,
just because I'm taller and I'm fatter doesn't mean I'm going to beat you up. You clearly look like you know how to do this, but
yeah,
I think that chef has some hubris going. He's kicked with the help of the goons in the diner. Maybe some other people who've stiffed him on the tab before.
Yeah, they did seem to have something. This wasn't their first rodeo.
No, not at all. They're used to like, all right, it's one of these. Here we go.
Yeah, the way the guy playing pool, the way he took his shirt off to have his sleeveless shirt underneath, you could tell that was a practiced maneuver.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was just like a thing in the 90s where you'd go places and there's just, if you step out of line a little bit, there's a bunch of guys are going to try and hit you with pool cues. It's just going to happen.
That's how it was back then. Different time.
All right, now I have my sleeper pick. I'm going to go with this because she got fired for it, but I love the move. When I was a school teacher for close to 20 years, and lots of other teachers, and this probably happens at every other job, some people get there annoyingly early just to like show that they're there early. They get there an hour or two before school starts, and you're like, how much time do you need to get ready to do your job? And I would show up maybe on time or a little bit late, but a couple minutes before class was there, and everything was fine. In the same way, Veronica showed up she was maybe a minute late or whatever, a couple minutes late for that first interview, but she did it perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like, I love the idea of you don't need that much time to get ready. What are we doing? What does she need to get there an hour before and look at stuff? No. Value your time, get there when you need to, get your thing done, and move along. They looked at it as a bad thing. I didn't.
Yeah, she's a natural. She just shows up, lets it rip, and goes on to do. She probably had something very important to do before she got there.
Absolutely. She was busy smoking cigarettes and maybe went for a run.
Yeah. So, good for her.
Yeah. I like, just for people out there who show up late but are ready to go, don't feel bad about it. That's who you are. You're ready to go. You don't need to be there early and practice for a half hour. You got it. You're natural.
Yeah, do you. That's great. That's a great pick. And very personal.
Yeah. It's a personal podcast.
My sleeper pick, I'm taking the submersion tanks in the mobile command vehicle. I love any movie where there's something floating in a tank of some sort. I don't know if it's because I watched the X-Files a lot growing up or what it was, but any movie where there's some, cylinder or tank of water and has, I don't know if it's aliens or body parts or in this case, people cooling off or regenerating or whatever it is they're doing in there. Just love a good submersion tank.
Very underrated, the submersion tank. But I guess that's why it's in the sleeper round, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There should be more of them.
Really cool too. There's some things that just pop in movies, and it's like you see a good fish tank in a movie. You're like, oh, that is incredible. A submersion tank? Yeah, let's see it.
I know. It makes me want to get one. Just pop one in my living room, just hang out in the tank.
Sure, your wife wouldn't mind.
Yeah. The tank's leaking again.
Yeah. Can we get rid of it? All right. Do you want to move on to our superlative?
Yeah. What do we got?
I forget how I worded it in the text, but I think it was most impressive display of athletic prowess. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
Show that you're more than human.
Yes. The pinnacle of man.
Very Captain America, to the limits of man.
Yes.
You want to go first?
Yeah. There are so many things to choose from. There's probably one or two things that are above the others. And I think that I really debated, but I think I'm going to go with running through walls. There were a number of walls that were run through in this film. And I just can't even imagine running through a wall. You have to be fast, strong, fearless, not feel pain.
And technique. You can't just have all that without technique.
Right. You'll knock yourself out. So I think that's one of those things that is almost impossible to master, and yet Jean-Claude Van Damme makes it look effortless.
So effortless, where there was a point when the concrete wall was there, you're like, is he?
I had that exact same thought. I was like, huh, we about to see this happen? And then they made you realize that there are limits to what a man can do. But
I did think when Dolph was shooting up the concrete wall, it was going to lower its integrity and he might be able to get through. Mm-hmm. But the fact that we even thought that was possible.
Yes, exactly. So I thought that was just one of those feats that it blew me away.
My choice, this is so tough. There's a lot of them. I think we both we both texted about this, but I'm not going to pick it. But the fact that they were dropped a mile and a half away and they had 13 minutes to get there, which seemed a little close, but you found out they got there in 4 minutes.
Oh,
the whole group in under And that was apparently 8 seconds too late compared. I mean, according to, which is also a great thing in movies when someone does something great and someone's like, "Wow, I thought they could have done a little bit better."
Yep. Yeah, I mean, a mile and a half in 4 minutes.
There's some
I wish we could have seen some of that. I mean, that's. Yes. I'd like to see what that looks like. Like, how fast are arms and legs moving there? They have to be incredibly. It's like a hummingbird or something. You have to slow it down to actually see what's going on.
Yeah, that's probably even faster than what my actual choice is, but this is so ridiculously impressive. It's when on their cross-country trip or whatever it was, when they ran out of gas and Jean-Claude had to get out and push, and he thought he would just push. But he pushed so fast that she had to hop into the driver's seat quickly or else they might crash. Did you see how fast he was going?
It was insane. And you've probably pushed a car at some point. I know I have. It's really, really hard.
It's really hard, and you definitely don't go 30 miles an hour. I was just we're both football fans, and there was this past weekend, Tyreek Hill and A-Chain on Miami. They both like got right near top speed, like 22 miles an hour, as fast as like, and it was like a big story that they got.
Oh yeah,
he's pushing a Jeep, picking it up and pushing it at 30 miles an hour.
Yep. And he got it started effortlessly. Like I feel like whenever I've pushed a car, once you get a little momentum, it gets a little bit easier. But that first going from 0 to, half a mile per hour, it's like you're straining yourself pretty hard to just get that thing going. And he just does it.
No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other things, obviously the 4 miles, running down the dam in the beginning, that was just awesome.
I think aesthetically, I almost chose that. Just how cool that scene was.
Oh, yeah. And then the kicks. I mean, there's a lot of just absolutely amazing kicks all throughout the film.
There was one time where Dolph Lundgren kicked, with one leg raise, he kicked 3 different guys in the face without putting his leg down. All right, so this is your invented new category. Do you want to explain this one?
Yeah, new category, giving this a shot. We'll see how it goes. Sort of had a little bit of difficulty thinking about how to describe it concisely. I sort of started off thinking about most likely to become a catchphrase. That's a little bit wordy, but I think we sort of settled on, could you see this on a bumper sticker? So sort of the same concept. Would it be a good bumper sticker? Would it be a good catchphrase? Anything in there fits. So we've just, I know we've watched a bunch of movies that just had some really fantastic lines in them that we don't always get to talk about because it doesn't fit in a category. We have so many other things to talk about. So this category is really intended to celebrate those lines that you could see just getting picked up and, inserting itself into pop culture in one way or another.
Absolutely. We've done like favorite quotes and stuff like that before, but this is different. This is something that's got to be something that's said that's a little bit catchy that you could see on the back of someone's car.
Exactly.
As it's your new category, I can't wait to hear your first choice.
So there were a number of good choices, I thought, here.
I have 4 written down. Yep.
Yeah. I am just going to go with, it's super simple. I feel like great for a bumper sticker. Just any questions. And this is Lundgren right after he shoots somebody in the head. And just any questions? And it's just
any questions means don't ask me any questions.
Exactly. It's the ultimate, like, I'm in charge and you can't even question my authority because look at what happened to that guy. It's simple. It's to the point. I think that's a great bumper sticker.
And if you see that in the back of someone's car, you know who's driving it, I think.
Oh, yeah. And you're not cutting them off. You're giving them a wide berth.
I'm going to go sort of the same avatar of a person, except they're the type of person who, politically has problems with things and they're upset at people or whatever. So mine is they're all traitors. So Dolph Lundgren yelling this has a problem with basically everyone he sees because they don't fit into his warped sense of what people should be focused on. So people who aren't focused on what he is, which is the war that ended years ago, they're all traitors.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole mentality for a lot of people these days.
I could see a lot of angry trucks driving around with a bumper sticker. They're all traitors.
Yep. And that's another one. Give them a wide berth.
Yep.
Like, the person driving in that car has at least one loaded gun in the car with them.
Yep. They want their space. I will give it to you.
Yes. That's a great one.
Did you have any honorable mentions?
I was thinking about just because I love the line "I'm all ears," where he's got all the ears, but it didn't really fit well on a bumper sticker. It was sort of more movie context dependent, but just a great line.
You would have to have like some fake ears hanging for your exhaust or something.
Yes, exactly. Instead of the truck nuts, you just had the ears or something.
Right, exactly. I have "Good night, asshole." I don't know if we can say that, but yeah.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Say good night, asshole. Good night, asshole.
I also, this is like maybe if you're in a bad spot and you're coming out of it. "No, I'm alive," when he's like, "You're dead." And he's like, "No, I'm alive," because he's finally realizing, no, I'm not dead inside. I am alive again.
Yep.
But no, I'm not thinking any of those. It's the one we picked.
Yeah, I'm excited for this category. I think that especially the films we watch, are going to have a lot of fun things to look for here. So we'll see if it sticks around, but I'm in for it. I
think it's going to stick around because almost every time we talk about a superlative, I'm like, best quote, and this is like a version of that, but it's like a much more chopped down, concise version of a best quote.
Yep.
What could I get behind if I was crazy and liable to follow anyone who suggested anything? All right, one change to be a blockbuster, and once again, this was a blockbuster.
Oh yeah. So my change at first, it was, and these are related, but at first I was like, we got to swap out that female lead actress. She was pretty rough. But as I thought about it some more, I'm not sure it was totally her fault. I think the lines they gave her, the character they wrote for her there was just nothing there. It was clearly this was a movie about two action stars and they had to fill in the rest. And she's an important character, but she's just so lame. Like, they didn't give her really any likable or good qualities. That I don't really blame the actress here, because that's just what she was working with. So I think just give that character a little bit more, and then maybe you pick up some more of the female audience as well. I think this was clearly geared towards the male audience, and I think you could round it out a little bit more by giving that character a little bit more to work with.
Yeah, that was mine. I wrote down as well, and it's obvious, but you're right. It's not really her fault. It's how she was written in this movie. Like, there's nothing to really work with as a female in this movie. This is a guy's movie to watch. I guess that's why we suggested grab some beers and sit down, because it's that type of movie. And I like how you went with no, let's not switch her. Let's switch the dialogue and her role in the movie a little bit. So it just makes more sense, because it feels like it's just like, hey, we have this awesome movie with Dolph Lundgren and Jean-Claude, and they're Universal soldiers, and they're so much more advanced than any other soldier. And then some executives like, but who's the love interest? And they just toss somebody in there, and they share a hug at the end because there's barely any reason for them to even like each other outside of the fact that she saw him naked 15 times.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you gotta give her a little something that as an audience member we can get behind.
Yeah, that's a great one. Mine is, besides that one, I don't like Dolph Lundgren trying to be funny and crazy. I don't think that's his thing. I like him being a little more silent and menacing. Like his look and his body and his physique and all that stuff, that does everything most of the time. So when he's yelling ha ha ha, he's cackling like he's Tommy Lee Jones in Batman Forever, that shtick doesn't quite do it for me with him.
Yeah.
I don't want him yelling it's empty, haha, I'm crazy. They made him act crazy, and that's not, he doesn't usually go big. My favorite Dolph is a little bit very understated in letting his actions speak for himself.
Right. And I think probably some of that stems from Rocky IV, right? Yeah. I mean, he's one of the greatest movie villains of all time. That character is, just, it's all time. It's an all-timer. That is the only way you can describe it. And he nails that. And it is tough. You're sort of always comparing him to that role because it was so good, and it was the first one he had. So it is tough when you see him a little bit stray from that, and doesn't hit as hard as it does, just because his physical presence is so.
But you're right. It definitely does come from Rocky IV, because he's one of the most iconic characters of all time, to the point where they brought him back in the new Rockies and had his son, he said, I will break you, and barely anything else. And the rest of it was all of the things that he actually did, and not just the words that he spoke.
It's interesting, too. I realize this is back-to-back Rocky villains. We had Mr. T in Spy Hard.
He was technically in there. That's true. We're going to get Tommy Gunn for the next one?
Yeah.
All right, spin-off ideas?
I feel like I've had some zany ideas before, and this is definitely in the zany category. So go into it with an open mind, I suppose. But I guess before I get into mine, I will just highlight that there were 5 sequels made for this film, which is...
I had no idea.
I had no idea. And the interesting thing is they kept rebooting them. So there were 2 TV sequels that took place after this film. Then they ignored those, and in 1999, they rebooted those and still made a sequel. So it was a rebooted sequel, still following this film. And then 10 years later, in 2009, they rebooted the sequel again and made another sequel, ignoring the prior 3 sequels, but still following this original film. So they never rebooted the entire franchise, but they kept rebooting the sequels, which was an odd choice.
But I sort of love that. They're like, how can we get some traction so we can make like 8 more of these things?
Yeah, because
but that's also saying like the first was perfect. Let's not mess with that. Let's get the next thing down so we can build off of that.
Exactly. I mean, I think the way that unfolded is affirming the greatness of this film, because they said we cannot top what was done in the original. Let's not even bother, but we haven't quite gotten there on the sequels. So let's just keep trying till we get it right. So with that in the background, I'm not even going to attempt to do a sequel here with that backdrop. It's been tried. They've tried a lot of things. They've had some troubles with it. And I want a Law and Order episode tie-in that also has Jerry Orbach starring in it as a different character. That's fine. Let's do it. And he is investigating the murder of the cameraman that the woman was framed as killing. And he's pulling at the threads of this government conspiracy. And eventually he uncovers this vast government conspiracy and program also run originally by Jerry Orbach. So you get some dual Jerry Orbach on the screen, and I think it would just be a fantastic tie-in. I don't know why they don't do that more often with movies and iconic TV shows. I think that would be fantastic for marketing. So once again, another idea for all those marketers and movie makers out there.
Another big idea.
Yeah.
Tying in movies to TV shows.
Yeah. So I would have, I mean, if you knew that there was a accompanying Law and Order episode to this movie, you would 100% watch that.
I can imagine that being like advertised for months. Yeah. The accompanying episode to Universal Soldier. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I love that. That's a great tie-in, and that had to happen once his face showed up on the mug. His mug showed up on the screen. Like,
yep.
Law and Order guy. Yep.
And this was right after that had started. We're 1 year into Law and Order with Jerry Orbach when this movie came out.
Oh my! That's when they could have got weird with it too. They could have linked themselves to Universal Soldier. Well, that's definitely the winner. Mine is. I mean, sometimes this is just. I want to see the platoon before everything happened. I wanted to see like Jean-Claude get to basic training and Dolph and like their progression. There's a chance where it seemed in the beginning where they were kind of very friendly. Like they had seen some stuff together, obviously. And Jean-Claude was like, went back for Dolph to be like, what is going on when everyone else is like running away and getting blown up? So I wonder what the battles that they might've been amazing soldiers and really close and had a great platoon, but we only saw the end when it was all getting ripped apart. So it'd be cool to like recast a bunch of those people that not recast, but like do it again if you could right after and show a bunch of those guys that died like really quickly in the beginning of the movie back before when they were part of the crew. The thing happened.
Because I kind of assumed that they were only taking soldiers that died. They were sort of the best soldiers because they then wanted to turn them into these elite killing machines. So I assumed that they were some of the top soldiers in the entire military. And yeah, it'd be great to understand what caused Dolph to go crazy like that. I mean, there was clearly some things went down, and that would be a great prequel.
There's a little like heart tug in there too. It seemed like he got really upset when like his family was his soldiers, his brothers. Like when one of them died, he didn't want to forget about it. We're not going to leave this all behind. This really happened. One of those things. And so I think it could easily tie into what set him off in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to see that.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was just like a stereotypical Boy Scout, actual badass military person, and then just kind of like lost it a little bit.
Yep. Something snap. Let's see it.
All right. Do you have anything we didn't get to?
Let's see.
Do you remember the price of each soldier?
I don't.
Each soldier cost $250 million in 1992.
That is an expensive soldier. Wow.
Yeah, very, very expensive soldier.
Especially because they seem to break from time to time. They don't actually seem all that durable.
They just hope that the ice will work, but it doesn't always work.
Right. One thing, I guess, one question I had was, do supermarkets really have just hanging carcasses in the back? Like, is all that much butchery happening in a supermarket? I just assumed they showed up at the supermarket already shrink wrapped or whatever, but they go in that one supermarket scene, they go in the back room and there are just beef carcasses hanging.
Is that still hanging on to like the golden age of butchery where all stores actually had real butchers, or is even
I don't know. I sort of imagined that butchers might have that, but that a supermarket wouldn't. But I've never been in the back of a supermarket. I don't know.
They do have that room back there.
Yeah.
But I didn't know there was another room with a cooler of all those like Rocky style. Yeah. That's good. I always like this, but 12 minutes in and the credits were still rolling. I love it. You got to show who the director was again, 12 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. I'm not sure when they sort of finally figured out how to do opening credits, but it was not 1992.
It wasn't 1970 something either, because every time I try to play something for my kid and they have those like early Disney opening credits, and they're essentially the ending credits, but so it takes like 5 minutes for a movie to start.
It's like I could have touched on when talking about the truck and the draft, but it was just so cool when it came out of the airplane. It was like a giant truck in a giant airplane. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a sight. Yeah, I agree. I did enjoy when when Jean-Claude had set them on fire at the gas station and they were all burning. They were like, "Get the portable coolers." It was some futuristic thing, and just a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, everything about that gas station scene was fantastic. I mean, my love for gas station scenes.
Of course.
Every single movie should have a scene at a gas station, as far as I'm concerned.
Every movie would be better if they did. Oh, last one. Where's Dolph Lundgren? Around at the end. I thought that was amazing. Once he got through the wood chipper and he's just like spewed everywhere, and they like, Jean-Claude's always so casual with that. Like, I just chopped the guy up. We just saw it in Sudden Death, and he's like, here's a quick little quip. Whatever, no big deal. Brush off my shoulders. Where is he? He's around. Whatever, no big deal.
So good.
All right, what do we got up next?
Next, we're going back into, I guess I don't even know how to characterize this movie. An alien movie, a creature movie. We got Species coming up. I guess that's an alien movie?
I think it's an alien movie, yeah.
Yeah, it is an alien. So, alien movie.
Yeah. It's like La Femme Nikita meets Alien, I think.
Right. So I haven't seen this in years, and I remember enjoying it a lot.
I haven't seen it in years either. I'm excited. This is like we're entering. I don't know when this is going to be heard, but maybe we've missed Halloween season. But this is a good taste of a little bit of. It's not just a sci-fi. I think it's a little touch of horror too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, this was a blast. Can't wait till the next one, and later.
Yeah, later.